tomorrow. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar. Yes. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. So this evening we're reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. Yeah, please. Chapter 10, The Opulence of the Absolute, Text 1.
What page is that on?
419. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhuyo eva mahabaho Shrinu me paramam vachaha Yatteham priyamanaya Vakshyami hitakamyaya. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjun, because you are my dear friend. For your benefit I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained." Purport: The word Bhagavan is explained thus by Parashara Muni. One who is full in six opulences, who has full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation, is Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Krishna was present on this earth, he displayed all six opulences. Therefore, great sages like Parashara Muni have all accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now Krishna is instructing Arjuna in more confidential knowledge of his opulences and his work. Previously, beginning with the 7th chapter, the Lord has already explained his different energies and how they are acting. Now, in this chapter, he explains his specific opulences to Arjuna. In the previous chapter, he has already explained his different energies to establish devotion and firm conviction. Again, in this chapter, he tells Arjuna about his manifestations and various opulences. The more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because Arjuna is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place. Om Jnanatimidandasya Kinanjana Shalakaya Chakshulanvaditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bukam Karitivachalam Pangam Langai Tegadim Yakipa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Diditadanam Vancha Kopathu Bishta Kipasindu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gauda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation again. The Supreme Personality of God had said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, because you are my dear friend. For your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained." So the word Bhagavan is explained by Parashara Muni, who is a great sage. Aishvaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashashriya. That Krishna, or the Bhagavan means one who's full in opulences, in all opulence. So there's 6 opulences: strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. So we see that anyone in this world who has some strength, some fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, or renunciation, they become attractive to people. Yes?
When you say wealth, you talk about material wealth?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is renunciation?
Renunciation means to be detached. Yeah. So, for example, if people are very impressed with some guy, for example, with his teeth, he could attach. I don't know how they do it. Whether they attach like some type of rope or something.
Yeah, pull the car.
Yeah, pull like a train.
Strong man.
Yeah, become very impressed. Oh wow. Or somebody who's famous. People, they hide, means they don't visit certain places because they feel that they're just going to be flocked by a bunch of followers, or just people. Oh, look at, there he is, and let's run up and stare at, and people want pictures and sign your signature, give me a autograph.
Selfie.
Yeah, selfie. Here, let's take a selfie together. So people become attracted when someone's famous. When someone may be famous for being a baseball player or cricket player or whatever, but people become attracted for somebody by somebody who's famous. In wealth, Yeah, if somebody's wealthy, you become very attracted to them. Even if they've, cheated and, clawed their way to the top. But if they have money, then, okay, people become attracted to them.
Okay.
Knowledge, someone's very intelligent, wise, then people become attractive. Beauty, somebody's displaying beauty, then people become attracted. And renunciation. So you have like saints or monks or people become attracted to such people because they're renounced. Now I was thinking about it because someone may be strong and famous and knowledgeable and beautiful and renounced. Anyways, I was thinking about it that if someone's wealthy, they may be very ignorant in many ways, means not knowledgeable. Of course, because they're wealthy, there's some fame there, but they may not be very strong, they may not be very knowledgeable, they may not be very beautiful, they may not be renounced. In other words, they're missing on a lot of the opulences. But if they have wealth, people say, okay, and, they become attractive.
I would argue all those things are the same. Somebody who's famous can be rich, poor.
Yes.
There's plenty of people
Of course, of course,
doing stupid things online. They're
of,
rich, intelligent,
of course.
and beautiful people. And just
Here, maybe you could use the mic.
I'm
Just,
just wondering why you're isolating wealth.
Yes, Prabhu, can you use the mic?
yeah, Tapas wants us to use the mic.
So I guess my question is, and maybe you're going to continue that this is the same for all of these six things, but I would say that for all of those six things you named, that may be the only thing that you possess. You may possess all six, 2 out of 6, or 1 out of 6.
Yeah.
One doesn't necessarily mean that you have any of the others. I don't think.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, yeah.
I was just pointing out, but it seems that out of all of them, a lot of people in this world, they're attracted to the wealth aspect very much. Well, fame is there too.
Fame is very addictive.
Well, the thing is they go together.
Yeah. Money and fame.
Common.
Yeah, commonly go together.
People on TikTok, they do something with a cat, they may not make any money. Oh my God, did you see that? They go on a talk show?
Yeah,
No, but they're not making money.
yeah.
Yes.
Generally,
They come together.
often they come together.
Yeah.
So, in other words, it seems that out of all of them, people are attracted to wealth, Even if the person may be, whatever, not having beauty or renunciation or anything, but they have wealth, okay, that's good enough.
Although,
Here, you want to use that?
you know,
It's funny, but many women will find the men attractive because of wealth. So an otherwise unattractive man often becomes very attractive because it's true. Is it not true?
Well, Arjun's saying it's true, and you're saying it's true, so. People become attracted to people on so many bases.
their perception of beauty will change. All of a sudden, this man is now attractive. They found out he has yacht.
Yeah.
So, but look at him this way, he's attractive. He has an unusual haircut. And funny nose, but very cute.
People are attracted on the basis of so many material things. That's the point. Huh?
Elon Musk, not particularly handsome man, but very attractive. Two girls find him very attractive. Amber Heard, beautiful women.
So Krishna, he has all of these in full. That's why he's Bhagavan. So he has full strength, means he's able to win in any battle, obviously, where strength is required, or he's able to do the most amazing things with his strength. He has full fame. I mean, even the atheistic class of people are talking about him, right? Everyone's talking about all over the world. Wealth, he owns everything, so everything's his. So knowledge, he's the source of all knowledge. Beauty, yeah, most beautiful and renounced. So he has these in full. Therefore Bhagavan. And then Prabhupada says, now Krishna is instructing Arjuna in more confidential knowledge of his opulences and his work. Previously, beginning with the 7th chapter, the Lord has already explained his different energies and how they're acting. Now in this chapter, he explains the specific opulences to Arjuna. In the previous chapter, he clearly explained his different energies to establish devotion and firm conviction. Again, in this chapter, he tells Arjuna about his manifestations and various opulences. So, if one is able to know the glories of Krishna, or know the greatness of someone in general, we could say devotees of Krishna, then, for example, Srila Prabhupada, then one will be more inclined to want to be connected to them. If one doesn't understand the glories or doesn't have much realization about it, then they have no inclination to be connected to those persons. So that's the nice thing about hearing about Krishna consciousness, or hearing about Krishna, hearing about Srila Prabhupada, is that if we hear about them, we want to be connected to them, because we'll realize their greatness. Yes.
So I agree 1,000%. And I don't know if you've heard this expression. It's a very common expression when you're trying to explain to somebody how to get what they want or reach a goal. The expression is, find someone who has what you want and follow and do what they do. And very possibly you may get what they want. Just make sure that the person you're following has what you really want. And I wonder, is there a correlation? So we want these 6 things, and of course, who has them more? No one, right? So it makes sense, in almost maybe, is it a selfish way, that we want what Krishna has? We want to attain these qualities, even though we know we can't have them like him, of course. But
yeah.
You see what you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. If you
is that a good thing? Or?
If you want to attain something that somebody attains something, then you have to find somebody who has that and then get it from them.
Who will have it more than him?
Yes.
No one.
So, I mean, devotees may, by serving Krishna, gain some of these particular opulences. And there's different types of devotees. I mean, there's devotees who have desires for material things, opulences, and then there's devotees who don't have those desires. So, yeah, I mean, it really depends what we want. Of course, it says in the Sri Upanishad, Krishna is the self-sufficient philosopher fulfilling everyone's desires since time immemorial. So he does fulfill everyone's desires according to their karma and so on. Akamo savakamo va mokshakamo dadade tivane bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So whether we have no material desires, whether we're full of material desires, whether we're desiring liberation, we should serve Krishna with intense devotion. But the highest form of service is that we don't serve Krishna for anything. We just serve Krishna just to please Krishna. So that's the highest realization. And while doing that, Krishna may give us opulences and he may not. But generally, or as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, it's not speaking generally or not, but Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I provide what they lack, and I preserve what they have. So he does that with the devotees.
So just to back up a little bit, you said he provides.
So just to back up, you initially said Krishna provides our desires based on what we need and based on our karma. Is that whether or not we serve him or not, whether or not we know him or not, whether or not we're Krishna conscious or not, or provided we follow the four regs, chant rounds, and so on and so forth?
Well, specifically in the Bhagavad Gita, he's speaking about devotee. A devotee, he provides what they lack and preserves what they have. Means for their Krishna consciousness. So that's the idea.
But I just want to say something. I've seen all my life people who worship Krishna or other gods, or specifically Lord Krishna.
Yeah.
They get very attractive.
Yeah.
Just the way they dress up, apply tilak,
Yeah.
eating prasad often, and worshipping Krishna.
Yeah.
I think Krishna, 100% I'm sure, gives them a lot of attraction for sure. Also, I have seen people also get very wealthy, whether they want it or don't want it. Indirectly, through some means, wealth comes to them through different ways. But I have mostly seen, even in India and also here, the attraction part, whether it's a man or a woman or a child, beauty-wise, people get it more. I mean, that's my observation so far.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it says if you're serving a king, so Krishna's, right? If you're serving a king, then you're taken care of, and you get to have similar facilities like the king. Means the king's having whatever, certain foodstuffs or prasad, and you get similar and things like that. So that's there. And then in terms of attractiveness, if somebody's surrendering to Krishna and following, then yeah, they develop some Krishna consciousness, or cultivate some Krishna consciousness, and they become attractive. A spark of Krishna's splendor.
You see it, I feel I see it with all the gurus.
Yeah.
They glow,
Yeah.
beaming, and they're,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
You see it with them. And what you just said, listen, when I'm with my guru, I eat good. If I sit at his table, I'm eating what he's eating.
Yeah.
This is 100% a fact.
Good.
No theory.
Can you use the microphone?
Yeah, you could say it again. That was a good quote. We're good.
So I was saying, I was just in full agreement because I have actually witnessed this. I feel like I've met and been introduced to a number of gurus, and I can say without fault, not every one of them is beaming with this inner beauty. They have a light, and it is very, you look at them and they have a beauty that is unlike, for lack of better description, but normal people or something. They look extra beautiful. And as far as, what Bala was talking about, if you are with the king, you share the king's luxuries. I have witnessed this myself. I eat with my guru, and I'm eating his food, and yes, they make special foods for him, and it's spectacular. I feel unworthy, but I'm also enjoying. So yeah.
Okay, so the more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. So you have to hear, and then we become fixed. One should always hear about the Lord and the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Try to hear as much as possible. Discussions in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because Arjuna is very dear to him, for his benefit such discourses are taking place. So if the discourses in the society of devotees can only take place among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness, means the real fruit of it can't take place or cannot take place unless we're in the association of serious devotees. So therefore we should try to take the association of serious devotees seriously. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments about this text or purport?
Which page we are on?
We're on chapter 10, text 2,
Page number
420.
420.
At least in this book, yeah. 10.2. Name vidhu suryagana prabhavam na maharshayaha aham adir hi devanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of all the demigods and sages. Purport: as stated in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. No one is greater than him. He is the cause of all causes. Here it is also stated by the Lord personally that he is the cause of all the demigods and sages. Even the demigods and great sages cannot understand Krishna. They can understand neither his name nor his personality. So what is the position of the so-called scholars of this tiny planet? No one can understand why this supreme God comes to earth as an ordinary human being and executes such wonderful, uncommon activities. One should know then that scholarship is not the qualification necessary to understand Krishna. Even the demigods and the great sages have tried to understand Krishna by their mental speculation. They have failed to do so. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, it is clearly said that even the great demigods are not able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They can speculate to the limits of their imperfect senses and can reach the opposite conclusion of impersonalism, of something not manifested by the three qualities of material nature. Or they can imagine something by mental speculation. But it is not possible to understand Krishna by such foolish speculation. Here the Lord indirectly says that if anyone wants to know the absolute truth, here I am present as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am the Supreme. One should know this. Although one cannot understand the inconceivable Lord who is personally present, he nonetheless exists. We can actually understand Krishna, who is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, simply by studying his words in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The conception of God as some ruling power or as an impersonal Brahman can be reached only by persons who are in the inferior energy of the Lord. But the personality of God cannot be conceived unless one is in the transcendental position. Because most men cannot understand Krishna and his actual situation, out of his causeless mercy he descends to show favor to such speculators. Due to contamination in the material energy, due to the contamination of the material energy, still think that the impersonal Brahman is the Supreme. Only the devotees who are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord can understand by the grace of the Supreme Personality that he is Krishna. The devotees of the Lord do not bother about the impersonal Brahman conception of God. Their faith and devotion bring them to surrender immediately unto the Supreme Lord. And out of the causeless mercy of Krishna, they can understand Krishna. No one else can understand him. So even great sages agree. What is Atma? What is the Supreme? It is he whom we have to worship. Hare Krishna. So just because a large number of people believe something or accept something as truth doesn't mean it's true. Because there's a lot of things that people accept to be true, but is false. For example, we're the physical body. A lot of people accept that as truth, but that's false. There's many things like that. So a devotee is not, does not accept the different theories and the different speculations of the men of this world or the people of this world. And they like to confirm things, not that they just accept on the basis of just because somebody said. But who is that somebody? And how do they know? And why should I accept what they say? Just because everybody else is. There's one story Srila Prabhupada tells. There's a man, and somebody very close to him died. So in India, when somebody very close to you dies, you shave your head. You shave your head. Because somebody died, very close to you. So this man did that. He shaved his head. So then somebody saw him, and they said, "What happened? I see you shaved your head." And the man said, the guy with the shaved head said, "Oh, you don't know?" He said, "Sargal Singh is dead." And then the man said, "Oh, really? Sargal Singh is dead?" And he said, "Yeah, you don't know Sargal Singh is dead." And the guy said, "Okay, I better shave my head as well." So then he shaved his head. So then it went on like that. People started, it was like a whole chain. Each person would see the other person. "Oh, why did you shave your head? What happened? Did someone pass away?" "Yeah, Sargal Singh is dead." So it went through the whole town like that. Everybody was shaving their head. And then eventually, it came to the king, and the king asked, "Why is everybody shaving their head?" And the minister, he also had his head shaved. And the minister said, "Sargal Singh is dead." And then the minister, or the king asked the minister, "Who's Sargal Singh?" And then the minister said, "I don't know." So then the minister, or the king told the minister, "You go search the whole town and you try to figure out who this Sargal Singh is." So anyways, he made his way through the town to the original person with the shaved head, and he met the guy, the original guy. And the guy said, then the minister asked the man, I'm sent by the king, and I'm told that you know who this Sargal Singh is, who the whole town shaved their head for. So who is this Sargal Singh?" And the man said, "Oh, Sargal Singh?" He said, "He's my donkey." He's my donkey. So the whole town shaved their head for a donkey. Right? So to do something without knowing, because the point is the whole town, they didn't know who Sargal Singh is. They're just blindly following. Right? Now,
Angel investor.
Now there's also the story of a young woman. She was getting married, and during the marriage, her mother and father were there. So during the marriage, a cat ran in to the wedding ceremony, and then the mother, who was seeing her daughter get married, the mother said, "Oh, quick, grab a basket." So then they put a basket over the cat. So then the daughter, she continues with her marriage, and then the marriage is over, it means the ceremony, and then she goes into her life, and she grows, and then she eventually has children, and then her child is getting married, right? They're in a marriage ceremony. So then that person who had a cat in a basket over a cat in their marriage, when it came time for their daughter to get married, so everybody's there and the priest is there and everybody's very serious, and the woman tells the daughter and the priest, wait, where's the cat? We need to get the cat here with the basket. This is part of our tradition. And it may go on like that for generations, and then someone say, why do we have a cat in a basket? And people say, I don't know. Yeah. So just to do things on the basis of, because everyone else is doing them, is not the most intelligent thing to do. So.
We followed certain rules like that while growing up.
Oh yeah. You want to talk to the mic?
Like we had these sort of things. Like you can have a haircut on Tuesday. You can do laundry on Thursday. You can't, again, I think do a haircut on Saturday either. People who are meat eaters, they shouldn't be, or eggs, whatever, right? They should not be consuming on Tuesday either. So we had a lot of them. Like also if the cat crosses by, you can. I still do that actually, that thing. Yeah. If a cat crosses, I wait for someone else to cross, and because I did that all my life.
What if no one else crosses for a while? You're just waiting there?
I then circle around the block and go the other way.
Okay. All right. Well, there's a lot of Srila Prabhupada actually. There's one devotee named Achyutananda, and he's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He wrote a book, but he actually wrote down a bunch of, you could say, superstitions that Srila Prabhupada himself told him about. I forgot. I read them one time at the Krishna Lounge, and then I decided that I'll never read them again at the Krishna Lounge, because people were walking away with the talk thinking like that was the point of the talk, or one of the main points, which it really wasn't. It was like a side point. But it was all these different kind of interesting things, like if you walk outside and you see a man without a leg, that's bad luck. But if you walk outside and you see a woman who doesn't have one eye, then it's good luck. Anyways, and it goes on and on like this. I don't remember all of them. Anyways, but the point is that people, they do so many things without knowing the reason why. So we don't accept things as devotees just because a lot of people accept them. And actually, we should, as devotees, doubt something that a lot of people accept. Because without, you could say, God consciousness, without Krishna consciousness, what is their qualification, you could say, of discerning truth? Just like Srila Prabhupada said, if you get a bunch of rascals voting for another rascal for president or whatever, then what are you going to get? If you get a bunch of devotees voting, they're going to vote for a devotee, right? Somebody who's could actually lead properly. So here it's being mentioned in this particular purport that there's different conceptions of the absolute truth. People think Krishna is impersonal. People think, there's just this Brahman conception, then personal conception of Krishna. But Vaishnavas, we understand from the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Krishna is a person. There's different aspects. So we should try to see from the viewpoint of Scripture and not speculators. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments on this? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Balaram. I just want to reflect. I remember I was listening to a class by Srila Prabhupada, and he said, as an intelligent means doubting. But once you know like the truth, you should never doubt again. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Going Krishna. And then I had a question about this text. It said that what's it called? It's clear even that the great demigods do not even understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And lately we've been reading about all these demigods lately. So, not even them, they can't even understand who Krishna is. What to say us, practicing Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. Well, means they can't understand Krishna in full. No one could understand Krishna in full. No one could understand God in full. They could understand partially, to a degree. So the demigods, they could understand to a degree, but not fully. Same with us. We could understand to a degree, but not fully. Even if we become pure devotees, still we can't understand fully. It's only to a particular degree. So that's the idea. Now, of course, the more pure one can become, the more pure devotee one can become, the more one could understand. So the demigods are a lot of the times seen as devotees with mixed desires. So they could understand less than somebody who's pure, means a pure devotee. So therefore the goal should be purity. Purity is the force. As Prabhupada agreed with, purity is the force, not anything else. Okay, so we could read one more. All right. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only undiluted among men is freed from all sins. Purport. As stated in the 7th chapter, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatasiddhaye. Those who are trying to elevate themselves to the platform of spiritual realization are not ordinary men. They are superior to millions and millions of ordinary men who have no knowledge of spiritual realization. But out of those actually trying to understand their spiritual situation, one who can come to the understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the proprietor of everything, the unborn is the most successful spiritually realized person. In that stage only, when one has fully understand Krishna's supreme position, can one be free completely from all sinful reactions. Here the Lord is described by the word aja, meaning unborn. But he is distinct from the living entities who are described in the 2nd chapter as aja. The Lord is different from the living entities who are taking birth and dying due to material attachment. The conditioned souls are changing their bodies, but his body is not changeable even when he comes to the material world. He comes as the same unborn. Therefore, in the 4th chapter, it is said that the Lord, by his internal potency, is not under the inferior material energy, but is always in the superior energy. So out of Manushyanam Sahasreshu, thousands of ordinary men, one may try for perfection. But out of those actually trying to understand their spiritual situation, one who can come to the understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the proprietor of everything, the unborn, is the most successful spiritually realized person. So that should be the aim, to come to the understanding that Krishna is the proprietor of everything. That's actually the platform of peace. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarva loka-maheśvaram sudadam sarvabhutanam gatvamam shantam richati. Shantam richati. So that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, he's the supreme friend and the supreme proprietor. And by understanding that, one attains peace from the pangs of the material existence. So, the more we try to enjoy separately from Krishna, own things separately from Krishna, proprietor, owner, what else? Own, control, enjoy. Yeah. The more we try to Bhoktaram Yagatapasam Sarva loka-maheśvaram, the more we try to own things and control things, be the supreme friend and so on, separately from Krishna, then the more we are, disconnected from Krishna, detached from Krishna, the more we have to suffer, actually. But if we try to see everything in relation to Krishna, then we're, you could say, in harmony with reality. We're in sync with reality. So it's an important point. In Ajja, Krishna is Ajja, unborn, and the living entities are also Ajja, unborn. But the difference between Krishna, Ajja, and ourselves, Ajja, we're all coming from Krishna, so we're also unborn. But speaking from a material point of view, giving up bodies, accepting bodies, giving up bodies, accepting bodies, dying, taking birth again. This is all due to material attachment, and Krishna doesn't have to. Krishna is not attached materially. It's the living entities who are. So material attachment, that's the source of our struggle, of our suffering. Okay, does anybody have any? Yes. Can you give him the mic?
It's true that material attachment causes issues and anxieties, but spiritual and mental and thoughtful attachments, they also cause just as much or even more, because those attachments are very deep and severe into us rather than the materials ones we can quickly throw away. With the other ones, more issues, and should we focus on that too, personally?
Okay. Well, I mean, people have a hard time giving up their material attachments, at least some of them. Like, people may want to give up drinking, for example, and they can't. It's like, for them, it's just the most difficult thing. There's so many things like that. People want to give up, maybe, but they just cannot. They're attached. Whereas spiritual attachments, or attachments in spiritual life, or ideas, if they're actually spiritual, they won't cause us suffering. They'll just cause us happiness or enjoyment.
How about the non-spiritual ones, like identity and worldly structures?
Yeah, identity.
Like, say some people, they give up their material ideas, but if you ask them where they're from, they say either India or America or Canada. These ideas, they still feel attached to, that they are that human being, even though they've given up their possession stuff. Could that idea limit them from getting closer to Krishna because there's a barrier on it?
Yeah, they should. Devotees should feel that they're not American or Indian or of a certain age and so on. So yeah, we should become detached from those things because that's material.
Are they just as hard as the material ones too? Or do you classify that as material, or would you say that was a different category altogether?
Well, those are upadis. Upadi means material designation. So there are many upadis. I am a man, I am a woman, I am black, I am American, this and that. These are all upadis, or false designations. So those also cause suffering.
But what if, in response to what he's saying, what if these things that, are seen often as pejoratives, identifying as a specific group, what if, because you're identifying as a specific group, you're doing in the service of Krishna consciousness? Isn't that possible too? So then it would be, actually a positive? Or is it impossible to you can't identify as an American and be serving Krishna by identifying as an American? You know what I'm saying?
Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparit nirmalam rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchita. So the material designations of padis, upadis they're called, they're impurities actually. Like the conception is actually impure conception. So by engaging in devotional service, we lose that sense. Because all this like tribalism and, racism and all this type of stuff, it's all based on the body. So if we could do away with the bodily conception of life, then we could understand, okay, we're all family, like a world family, not so much duality, separation, material duality. Now Prabhupada would tell the devotees, he would say, you are all Americans, and you should use your American brain to do something very good.
American ingenuity.
And then devotees would comment on that, because back in the 60s and 70s, they were like, we don't want to be identified as Americans, And even now, but Prabhupada would use that, interesting enough. And the devotees would actually think, yeah, we're Americans, we should do something good, use our American brain. Because means use our American brain to spread Krishna consciousness. You're of a great nation. You should, as Americans, you should do something good for the world. So interesting enough, Prabhupada would use that. But simultaneously, he would also go into this idea that you need to give up the material designations. So,
It's not black and white.
yeah. So, but I guess the point is to engage whatever we have in our advancement and the advancement of others, Krishna consciousness. We should try to make advancement. Okay, so we'll get ready for the arti. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.